All right, got the live stream fired up here. We will give it a second or two so I can see some people coming into the broadcast. That looks way better than the last one that wasn't on camera, but we'll see how that goes. All right, looks like we have individuals joining the feed right now. So good evening, everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of Throw It Thursday. This week we're going to be featuring the brand new Columbia Authority Solid. The Authority Solid is the second release in the Authority line, and we'll go over some of the technical specs here as they're throwing shots and kind of getting warmed up. And after that, I'll talk a little bit about the ball, and we'll open up some questions for the viewers that are out there. So if you missed Tuesday's feed, it was a long one, but it was a really good one with myself and Carrie. We talked a lot about the ball early on, but this ball is featuring that ERT 2.0 solid cover stock, has the Authority core, which you saw in the original one. Numbers on this ball are 2.503, a differential of 0.050, and an intermediate dip or mass bias of 0.020. So definitely a very, very big ball, big piece that we're going to be reviewing tonight. Factory finish on that is going to be 501,000, so it has a lot of teeth. We're not going to use the word teethier, which Carrie is going to try to use, and we will go from there. Somebody is giving me an angry face, which was Terry Mize, and I don't understand it. Don't be miserable, Terry. Lauren, good evening. Glad you're joining us here. So we got a couple guests here tonight with us, so a few more than last week. So tried to bring in some players with little different styles here. You're going to see a couple players that are familiar to some of the feeds. On lane 3, we have Darren Zombro Jr. I didn't call him Darren Zombro III like I did the last time. His kid's is taller than him now, so it's really crazy to me to call him Junior and the other one the third. So you're going to get to see a southpaw throw this down the lane. I guarantee you he's probably playing 10 to 5 because that's what left-handers do. Let's see where this one goes. It was about 10. Yep, got to about 5. And look at that. He went kind of high, and he struck. That's normal. So, good. We got that out of the way. Being joined on lane 3 is also going to be Carrie Smith. Obviously, you've seen her in the feed many a times. Carrie is a national staffer with Hammer, but at the same time, she has the rest of the arsenal at her fingertips. So, Carrie has this ball in her bag and has been seeing some lane time with it if you tuned in on Tuesday. And she's going to throw some down the lane. Then we jump over to lane 2. So another familiar face. First year on Columbia 300 staff, we have Chelsea Merklinger. Those of you who have seen Chelsea from Lancaster County and or her days bowling collegiately at Delaware State, and she's now turned over into the adult ranks / going on to her PWBA career. And finally, we are inviting a newcomer to the broadcast tonight. Definitely not new to us here at Pyrrhic Bowling, but we've invited Paul Moore to join us tonight. And Paul is taking advantage of throwing one of the demo balls that we have available here at the center. So Paul is going to give us another perspective where he is very forward when it comes to his ball roll, very high track circumference, but a decent amount of axis rotation created down lane. Chelsea's game, as you can see, Chelsea has a PAP which is only about 3 over and 1.5 up, so a little bit spinny. So that gives you a little bit of a different look for projection through the front part of the lane. And then finally, as you're watching them throw shots down the lane, the other thing to keep in mind, and I didn't tell them this, I just kind of made them walk into it, but they're not bowling on the same pattern. Lane 2 is a heavier oil pattern. Wanted to give two different perspectives here. Kind of a little bit of a higher rev rate players that can, tip it a little bit more, or bowling on the higher volume pattern on lane 2, which is actually 46 feet. It is a 6-to-1 ratio. It's a PBA pattern, the 2020 Petragula pattern. On lane 3, DJ, so he could play 10 to 5. We put out something easy on the left. And, Carrie is going to play similar zone to the right side on lane 3. But that's a 7-to-1 pattern, and it is 42 feet in length. So two different ones you can see there. So I'm going to turn over and let you guys watch some of the shots, give a little bit of a commentary on those. And I'm going to start filtering through the comment sections and do my best to answer any questions you may have and go from there. So going down the list here, Lauren, hello. Glad you're joining us. Terry Mize, glad you're here. And if anyone else wants to put an angry face, we're going to kick him off the feed. Terry Mize needs to get kicked off. Chris, good evening. Just saw you a little bit ago. I think you're bowling league, so hopefully you continue the hot streak there, my friend. And he asked a question, which I will put on the screen here as they're going. Sorry, I bumped the screen. But Chris asked, does someone have a Hammer Redemption to compare it to? I do not know if Carrie has one in the building and or DJ. Paul, you have a Redemption Solid in the building? No. Nobody has one. Nobody has one in the building, Chris. But what I will tell you is, if you want a comparison between the two, what I will tell you is this Columbia Authority Solid in even earlier than the Hammer Redemption Solid. So at the box finish of 501,000, this ball really, really does dig into the front part of the lane. Hence the reason that I chose to go with a longer pattern for the slightly more heavy-handed players, and something kind of medium. It's a medium light for the ones that like to play them a little straighter here. So we're going to see a little bit of versatility on that front, and but definitely, if you were to compare the two, Chris, you're definitely going to have this Columbia definitely a little earlier. And there's a really good shot there from Chelsea. So just kind of going off of it to give a little background on that, Chelsea's is the freshest cover out of all of them. Her bowling ball, she just got these in, and this is actually the first time she's throwing it down the lane. So when we talk about having a fresh cover, this is as fresh as they get. The demo ball that Paul's throwing probably has about 10 games on it or so. We do keep after them in terms of cleaning them up, but it is still box finish, and I have not re-hit that ball with a pad. Carrie's is box finish as well. Probably has about 5-6 games on it, but a lot of that was on a PBA pattern that she bowled on this past weekend, where the ball came into play, throwing it down basically 1, 2, 3 on a 44-foot pattern, because it was able to check up early enough and roll forward for her and get it through the pins. And then DJ from the left-hand side. DJ, any adjustments you've made to yours? I know you've had yours probably the longest.
No adjustments at all. I haven't even cleaned it yet.
Right. So if you didn't catch that, I know I have the speaker turned up as much as I can, but DJ has not altered the surface of his either. So we basically have all box finish on this. All players are using the ball basically for the intended purpose. You know, they're definitely going to, have these bowling balls. They're not ones that they're going to try to swing left to right, right? It's a big old motor. But they're all playing them through the fronts a little straighter, using that asymmetry to get the bowling ball to stand up and, be able to keep their angles a little bit more in front of them. And, as they, migrate left, they may migrate with this ball a little bit. They may choose to go to the original authority when this one becomes a little too early. So there is a great 1-2 punch. And I do believe that Chelsea has the original with her, too. So maybe at some point we'll have her throw that at the same line, and you'll be able to see the difference in shapes there as well. So another question, Bob Moran. Will this ball help me strike? Bob, funny story.
Do we got a comment on that?
I haven't seen Bob post 300 or 800 in probably like 2 weeks. So
2 weeks.
I think he's probably in a drought. 2 weeks is a long time not to see an honor score coming out of Bob Moran. But I got faith in him. Maybe he's bowling league tonight. Maybe he'll, redeem himself and put up a big one tonight. But Bob, to answer your question, will it help you strike? Absolutely. This ball hits. The dynamic core helps a ton. And we also use that dot technology as well, so it can drill it anywhere. All right. Terry is apologizing for his angry face, but I'm not so sure I believe him. We got a whole bunch of other likes, but we'll see. But Rick Rule, thanks for checking in there, buddy. And hope you're doing well. Hope you're enjoying that counter attack we recently did and kind of filled that void to keep it in front of you a little bit more. Now, just, kind of commenting off that. Now, if you saw that one for Chelsea there, that big cover, you could tell she got that one to the right a little quicker, and that ball stood up really hard. Okay? So definitely these players, as you see them bowling and are on the longer patterns, they're trying to use the hold of the lane and not try to play the hook of the lane, right? Big difference in how we attack oil patterns. Bob says, I got league tonight with a fresh results solid. That ball is a very, very great shelf appeal to it, Bob. You'll have to let me know how it rolls. I know talking to, Pulisic and Fury and a couple of the other guys in the Radical camp, they're really liking that ball. Kind of reminds me of the colors that were in the Tactics Control, but obviously on a way, way bigger ball. All right, so Carrie, I try to ask questions as we're going down. So if you missed the feed on Tuesday, Carrie, I know you threw this ball over the weekend. You threw this on PBA pattern, which was a 44-foot pattern where we bowled and contested it on some very new SPL surface, so kind of a high friction in the building. And what were your first instinct? I think it was pretty much one of the first times you threw this in competition.
Yeah, it was definitely the first time I threw it in competition. Before that, I had only thrown a couple practice shots with it at another tournament, and definitely reads the body of the lane. It's definitely earlier than an arrow. It is teethier than an arrow.
She had to use the word. We already decided last night. Google confirmed it. Teethier is not a word.
It's a word in my bowling vocabulary now. So
yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely a big piece. It's definitely not in my league bag. It's definitely in my tournament bag because you never know when you're going to need this ball. I feel like you could use it on any pattern. I mean, I used it on a 44-foot pattern over the weekend, and it was amazing. So, I mean, I feel like you can use it on whatever you want, but you have to be cautious of what the lane wants. So.
Right. Good to hear. I know it looked pretty good. I was bowling. I wasn't bowling exactly close to you, but I did get a glimpse of a few shots. And she was doing the Carrie Smith patented throw it over my left toe, 1-2 through the front, headhunter. I'm going to strike and eat your face line. That's what I call it. It's very technical.
Everybody has to know the reason why why we call it throw it over my left toe, because when I slide, my foot goes sideways. So technically, I am throwing it over my foot. So yes.
All right, and Paul, you kind of you're back here now, and Paul, the first time you're joining our broadcast here. Now, some of the questions I guess I would ask is obviously you haven't gotten a chance to throw this ball a lot. You threw it maybe a week ago in here for a couple shots. At that time, that was actually kind of a shorter pattern, but I do know, based on the question earlier, you have a Redemption solid in the bag. So, first impressions? What do you see out of this ball? How's it compared to some of the other things in your bag right now?
So definitely, definitely a lot earlier than a Redemption solid, but it still packs a lot of punch on the back end when it does hit. It does want to have a tendency to read probably mid lane. In my opinion, a little stronger. It gets through the fronts, but definitely still has a lot of back end to drive through the pins.
Right. So I mean, you have it earlier, but basically what you're saying there is not really quitting through the pins. And no. Chelsea, was that a move with your feet?
Yeah, I moved 3 left.
All right. So she moved in, and the reason I asked that is you kind of see that didn't get through the pins quite as much. So Chelsea being a good player and being paired here with Paul as well and being pretty accurate players, they're going to beat the lane up here quite a bit, and it's going to force them. It's going to force them to move a little bit, but it never hurts to be able to see that because, that 3-board move with Chelsea right now, that ball didn't quite go through it just the same way because it was still really trying to dig in, which kind of reiterates the point, when we need to understand what our bowling balls are telling us as we, go in, we're generally not going to go in with quite this much surface. It may be a time when we go into, a hybrid cover stock or a pearl or something along those lines. And DJ, I mean, where has this ball seen the most amount of play for you? Have you been able to throw this, in league, Berks, anything like that?
I threw this in league at Berks twice. A handful of tournaments, like a game here, a game there. When hit a little bit of a transition where I needed that extra little hit in the back end with this ball because of it being like a fresher cover and stuff with all my other stuff.
Okay.
It's a good ball.
Good. And I know you've been getting a lot of play with the Ebonite Arrow.
Oh,
And so, we get questions about this all the time, because you have choices through the brands and stuff. So when you compare this, even from the left side to an Arrow, what big differences do you see between a ball like this, the Authority Solid, and then getting into the Arrow?
I see this for me on the left side. I see this having a little bit more of an impact in the back end of the lane.
Okay.
It hits, compare the Arrow, reads earlier for me, but it doesn't have that oomph as what this ball has on the back end.
Right.
The Arrow still has a good oomph, but there's times I just need that little extra half board, one board grab at the back, and the Authority Solid has that over the Arrow.
Right. And some of that is, fresher cover, things along those lines, little different layout. I do know from drilling DJ's bowling balls that the layout on his Arrow is the pin to pap distance is actually, a little longer, so the bowling ball doesn't flare quite as much. But again, based on the part of the lane he likes to play, the bowling ball may see the pattern differently for each player. Everybody is unique. When you get a bowling ball and it fits into your arsenal, each player is going to see things that are slightly different from one another.
Jeff,
Yes.
I have a problem.
What's your problem?
I can only get 9 with this ball.
Well, that's the good thing is that we make spare balls too, and if you convert those in tournaments and things like that, you get rewarded by making cuts and cashing checks. So,
I thought you were supposed to drill extra strikes into this ball.
well, Carrie, I'm not a miracle worker. I can't drill talent. Shots fired. All right, gang. 17-minute point already. Seems crazy it's going that fast, but still quite a few of you that are in here viewing this. So fire some additional questions there, and hopefully I'm not behind on my feed. The last one I see is from Chris Wilson, so hopefully I'm not missing any comments. Sometimes they lag a little bit down here in the basement with the Wi-Fi. They're really good. Paul's got that kind of like, he's really shimming it in there, throwing it right up against the oil line. All right, Carrie, I'd try harder. 9 is better than 6. Oh, that might be 6. She thumbed that down. Oh, of course, the one she thumbs down strikes. Thumb down at her toe, gets 10.
Hey, they never said you had to throw it perfect every time.
A lot of the individuals that come on here too, they ask, my opinions on the ball. I haven't personally been able to throw this one myself. I don't have this one in my bag, but I have drilled a lot of these now based on what I've seen from players like you see here tonight, the success they're having with it. That was actually a little bit of a pitch out, and that thing still tried to get there. But really impressed with the cover and the responsiveness on this ball. So, when we have a customer that comes in and is really looking for an early motion or is looking something for heavier oil and, wants to kind of trap it to the right longer, this is definitely one of them that I'm going to be recommending. Never going wrong with, something still like the Redemption Solid, things along those lines. Still plenty of power. So really another really good shot there from DJ. It was 10-5 if you didn't see that. The ball hit 10 at the arrows, 5 down lane. Lefty, weird. We bust his chops, but we love him. Now there was a classic Paul in there. That one, his hand was definitely more forward, so that ball didn't read the lane quite the same. Still got there. He did an 8-10. That's good. What do you think, Carrie? I think it's 10. See, it was that talk we had. I fixed you.
It was almost 9 again.
All right, folks, we'll keep this going for a couple more minutes here. Get those last-minute questions you may have in. Any other ones that you want a comparison against, or any other questions in general that we could answer for you tonight?
We love questions.
I love cookies more than questions.
Yeah, I know.
Wow. I'll tell you what, Chelsea's making this ball look really, really good off the press. And remember, I mean, we're bowling on, a really old wood surface, and this thing is burning off enough, even on the longer pattern, and the bowling ball is still going through the pins. It's no secret, folks, that it is not easy to get 10 in this building. Okay, it's an older building. Obviously, the flat gutters they're older than Paul and DJ combined, but not quite that old. That would have made him like 144. But it's tough to get the corners out in this building. It's unique. It makes you work, makes you throw it good. So it's actually a good place. We call it a training center for a purpose. You're going to learn how to get your entry angle into the pocket in a good spot and increase your carry percentage. I know it helps me tremendously, honestly, folks, because, I would have got to the right really quick. It helps me out a ton because then when I go, and I'm bowling on over cliff shots or something, or really trying to work on targeting, makes you throw it good and makes you earn it. Wow. Ever since we had that talk, I would just like to point out to everybody, and this is why I am one of the best coaches in the world. I told Carrie to try harder, and it worked. So all you have to do is try really hard. Probably a little bit of praying helps sometimes.
No, or you just get your hand around
and sarcasm, or you throw it better. So we're going to go with Chris just put it up there. That was a gooder. If you throw it more, better. We're just going to keep up on our English lessons here.
Remember, word of the day, teethier.
Almost got the 4-pin trip out of that. Almost got it. So as we're wrapping up the end of the broadcast here, a lot of times I will announce, for the following week, what bowling ball we're going to review. What I am going to tell you is there will be a bowling ball for sure that we'll, review, maybe throw it down the lane on Thursday. But next week on Tuesday evening is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a talk about it segment, but I'm going to invite one of my favorite people on the planet, one of my, best friends. Carrie's staring me down. I'm not talking about her, but one of my good friends and in my opinion, one of the best coaches on the planet, Brian O'Keefe, is going to be joining me for the segment next Tuesday evening. So if you do not know, Brian is obviously the director of bowling at McKendree University and longtime Team USA coach and a tour rep out on the PWBA tour. I've known Brian now for a few years from our time spent out on tour, and could be more excited to have another individual on the program who shares a lot of the same philosophies as I do when we talk about ball motion and lane play and just the game in general. But make sure you mark your calendars for that. We're going to do it right around 8 p.m. since time zones are a little different between the two of us. But it will definitely be a good segment. So you can start getting those questions ready now in preparation for what you may want to pick our brains about when it comes to Tuesday evening. So, all right, gang, we are at the tail end here. We're right around that 25-minute mark, which is usually why we when we cut it off and give the players a little bit of a break here. They've been throwing for a while. But pretty impressed. I really like to see the different styles we had out there tonight. Got to showcase some different shapes, definitely some different styles, and on two different patterns as well. So, DJ, have you bowled 300 yet? Because I haven't been watching, but you've struck quite a bit.
I think the first two shots we went live, I missed, and then after that, I haven't.
I'm pretty sure he's on a 28 bagger. So we're going 28 bagger. May have the house record here now, but anyway, thank you as always for joining us. We truly do love putting these on. Looks like a big move with the feet. Yeah, that was pretty good. How many was that with your feet? How many was your feet?
That was 5 with my feet, 2.5, 3 with my eyes.
All right, so 5 with the feet, brought his eyes in with him, used the shim there in the middle of the pattern, and the bowling ball still picked up. So good one there. All right, gang, I'm going to give you my parting remarks as I always do. Please go out, support bowling, support your proprietors. Support all the pro shops, specifically mine. I like it. Put me to work. But anything else that we can do for you, answer any questions, we're just a click away. Find us on Facebook. Send me a text message. My number's out there for the public. And we'll be glad to get back to you and help you with your game. So hope you enjoyed the segment. Love talking to everybody. And we will talk to everyone soon. Bye now.
See ya.
See ya.
Bye.